time with my children.
Good morning. Hello, collective. Good morning. Let me do one more. Let me do one more for this energy. It is dense. Yeah, super dense. Good morning, everybody. Hello. Thank you so much for tuning in to my channel. My name is Patience. I am your favorite spirit medium, host of Spirit News on all major platforms. If you are going through an awakening and you are needing some advice or guidance through the transition, we have provided all of our own guidance that was given to us by our very own spirit team, the Guild of the Golden Triangle. Here, bringing you higher perspectives of linear views. You can access all of that information through the link tree, through the description bar. We'd absolutely love to have you. If you are interested in that, that's more episode based, that's more topic based, structured ideas and knowledge based on our journey of awakening and walking in Christ consciousness, okay? So, on this channel, we do spiritual and psychic development, and we do that with the help of our spirit team. Our very own spirit team is helping us to develop our spiritual abilities, and we do that with you guys. And we use game cards and books and vocabulary words and lots of other ways to speak to spirit. God is not limited by your belief systems. God is omnipotent. God is everything. And therefore, God can speak to you any goddamn way he pleases. Okay. It could speak to you in tea leaves and clouds and axe markings and dreams and smoke. Anything that God wants to use, it's up to you to be receptive, to be a clear vessel or clear conduit for divine messages. If you want divine help, then you have to do the things to make your field, your magneto field, match divine energy. If you are searching for divine messages and you step into your spiritual path, but you're not doing the work to clear your field of emotional hangups and all the non-physical things that dirty your field, then you will attract spirits, entities, interdimensionals that match your energy, and it might not be divine. Well, it most likely will not be divine if you're using spirituality as a way to feel connected, but you're not doing the healing. Oh, Spirit said Dexter. Hello, everybody. Good morning. I don't know why Spirit wanted me to say that. Maybe that has to do with the reading. Today this reading was recommended by one of our very there they are. LOL. We're doing the Delphi girls. Thanks to your recommendation. Speaking of, thank you for your recommendation. I didn't know about this one. And you know what's so funny is that I would get a lot. Well, hold on, let me see. Let me look at the names. Yeah, I would get Rose and Joyce, and Spirit just said Joyce right here, Joyce, because one of the little girls' name is Abigail Joyce. But I wouldn't get Abigail or Liberty, but the necrometer only has, certain words in it, so it's like, it's funny how
I lived right here.
she chose a word that was in there, but I just wasn't getting it, so I'm really sorry about that. But that's how energy works. If it's not in your reference library, then you cannot access the message. If you have a message coming through, but the knowledge you have is limited, then that energy will, or that message will be limited, so that's why Spirit always says knowledge is power, because the more you go out seeking knowledge and you keep yourself searching for a bunch of different things to know about, the greater your message can be, the more information you can receive. So, yeah, so I just want to say thank you. Thank you for bringing this to our attention. I absolutely want to help. We haven't done a true crime in a while. So I'm happy to do it. I'm happy to do it. Sometimes doing the true crime, the energy always feels very, dense. I'm not an expert in energy. I'm learning just like you guys. We come on here to learn with you guys about energy with spirit and how to protect ourselves from it, how it works, how the spiritual laws work compared to like the earth laws, and how they like coincide, and the ways that we definitely operate. So I'm happy to do it. I don't know why I had to say all that. There's something about spiritual laws here going on. So one of the things that stood out to me about this case, first of all, let me just break it down for you. Let me tell everybody what this is, because if I didn't know it, there's probably other people. This is about the Delphi murders of two little girls, a 13-year-old and a 14-year-old, on February 13th in Delphi, Deer Creek Township, Indiana. Abigail Joyce Williams and Liberty Rose Lynn German were unalived by a man who, here, let me go AI mode. So the crime was on February 13th, 2017. Abby and Libby went for a hike on the Monon High Bridge Trail in Delphi, Indiana. They were reported missing that night, and their bodies were found the next day with their throats. The bridge guy evidence, Libby used her phone to record a grainy video of a man following them on the bridge and an audio clip of him saying "down the hill." This recording was the primary evidence for over 5 years until there was an arrest, and they arrested a man named Richard Allen. A local CVS employee had originally self-reported being on the trails the day of the murders, but was not identified as a suspect until a tip was rediscovered. In 2022, he was arrested after police linked an unspent .40 caliber round found near the bodies to his firearm. Okay. The key prosecution evidence was a jailhouse confession that Allen made to his wife and mother and psychologists in solitary confinement. But the weird thing about the phone call that I found interesting is that when I listened to the phone call, he said, "I did it," and he sounded confused. And then he said, "I did it, but I don't know why I did it." And that was really interesting to me, and it stuck out in my head, because it's like, I definitely know what it's like to be outside of your body, and when you're going through something traumatic, your mind can definitely memory at the top of the deck. Your memory can absolutely, protect you and not have you remember certain parts of a traumatic experience. So I get that. But if you're, I don't know, like, you don't know why you did something like that. And then another thing that really stood out is the way that the bodies were laid down on the ground is very intriguing. It's very ritualistic. I'm going to try to read the comments as best I can, but sometimes I won't be able to, but I'll do my best. So just so you guys know, I'm not ignoring you, okay? The weird thing about it was Allen's attorneys argued that the confessions were coerced by his declining mental state in solitary confinement. They also presented an alternative theory not allowed by the judge during trial, that the girls were killed in a ritualistic sacrifice by practitioners of Odinism. Richard Allen is currently serving his sentence at the Lexington Assessment Reception Center in Oklahoma. So, yes, I would like to know about this Odinism theory. Hold on a second. Please tell me more about the Odinism theory. So I looked up Odinism because the bodies were laid in a very specific way. That's really bizarre. Like, why bother? Like, why bother? And how did you know this information? How did you access this specific type of ritual to perform, you know? So the ritualistic crime scene defense attorneys argued that the crime scene was staged with symbolic elements. They alleged that sticks and tree branches were deliberately, carefully, and proficiently placed over the victims' bodies to mimic Norse runes. So the bodies were placed in like a specific type of way, and then the sticks were placed on top of the bodies after they were super saiyan, after they were positioned, and the branches resembled Norse runes. Okay, as well as with like the way the bodies were positioned. If you want to see that, you'll have to look that up yourself. It does show like a diagram of how the bodies were positioned. The prison guards were supposedly practitioners of this opinion, wearing patches on uniform tools. I'll find you in your dreams. Oh, thank you, Robert. So, what we're learning about, in this day and age, Spirit says the beast that Revelations was speaking of is witchcraft. And witchcraft can be performed subconsciously, unconsciously, and consciously. And so, especially in this time now where the veil is so thin. Hey, burnt eggs. And so I'm wondering if this is a ritualistic spiritual practice and they use these bodies as a sacrifice. In what ways is Odinism masking or mirroring witchcraft, but masked, oh my gosh, masked at the top of this deck, but masked as Odinism. Okay, and so what Odinism is, if you guys know who Odin is, he's a Norse god. Odinism is a modern, often reconstructionist, heathen religion that revives ancient Norse paganism, focusing on polytheistic worship, so idol worship, of gods like Odin, Thor, and Freya. Primarily practiced in the US and Europe, it is sometimes associated with folkish or white supremacist ideologies. So they worship the Norse pantheon, ancestral ethnic blood. So blood, it's basically blood magic. Okay, often centers on individualism, strength, and warrior ethos. So just a very masculine, we have to remember that the thing that these people don't realize about magic is that you don't need it, for one. You don't have to do it. Two, you can look up any spell. You can make up any spell, and what's powering the magic is your intention and where you're at in your heart space. And that's why there's a story in the Egyptian pantheon about having your heart weighed, and is it as light as a feather? Because your intention is the absolute mechanism that propels energy manipulation forward, whether it's good or bad. If you're not in a correct heart space, you're not operating out of your heart, you're operating out of your masculine energy, out of your ego, you will take a religion and you will twist it just like any cult, okay? Just like any cult, and you'll twist it to fit your needs. But at the same time, using magic and blood magic and these things that they do in the sake of their religion, even in the world cult of Baal and Moloch, it's the same thing. It's just wears a different mask. If it requires you to hurt people, if you're doing it because you're trying to gain abundance, trying to manipulate energy so you can control the outcome of things, then you're being tricked. You're being tricked. Because God doesn't need you to do that. God doesn't need you to kill things or to burn things or to hurt people or to hurt yourself. And so what happens is that doing energy manipulation will literally make you go insane. Doing witchcraft magic will make you go insane. If you are already imbalanced, and quite honestly, what we're finding is that imbalanced people are the ones who are susceptible and perpetuate energy manipulation, and they resort to energy manipulation because they're imbalanced. And if it's associated with a white supremacist group, then right there you already know that you probably have a bunch of men in a group that think that they're superior over every other person and have to and have resorted because of their mental illness to doing energy manipulation to control the outcomes of things. Okay, so I was getting that a lot. Okay, so the controversy with this worldview, while many practitioners are not racist, the term is frequently used by white supremacist groups that associate it with racial purity and white genocide narratives. Often conducted in nature, involved communal drinking of possibly blood, blood. Okay. Vengeance is for the Lord. Absolutely. You're opening a door to evil playing with those cards. I bet you kick grandpas at Walmart for fun. I do not. I believe 2 witnesses came forward saying they saw a man walking away from area covered in blood, not allowed in court too. Well, we'll see. I definitely have this guy right here who kind of looks like the guy they arrested, but with a longer beard. He definitely has like a stern look in his eyes. Sacrifice. When ancient sources mention human sacrifice, most modern reconstructionists reject this, though some radical groups have been linked to violence. Yeah, anything that asks you to hurt people or to burn things or to hurt yourself or do something to get something is a trick. It's a trick. It's tricking you. You're falling for some of the, you have to remember that interdimensionals are 4th and 5th dimensional. They can read your thoughts. They can read your field. They know what your wounds are. They know what your weaknesses are. They know what you think about. They know what you don't think about. And they will play on your ego and stroke your ego and make you feel all powerful just for you to get to a level where you will commit an act that will put you perpetually in guilt and shame. That's their ultimate goal. Okay, so I know we talk about magic a lot, but that's why Spirit has a lot of the readers talk about magic, because people perform magical acts in secrecy, because you need to have secrecy in order for the energy manipulation to work on a bigger scale, because if you don't know that it's happening, that makes it more effective. But knowledge is power. The more you know, the bigger your reference library is. Thank you, Spirit. Full circle. The less you can be affected by it, because your awareness of it allows you to pinpoint it if something's different than usual happening to you, in whether it's happening emotionally or happening outside of yourself. Okay. So I was drawing these. It's so funny. I wanted to draw these folklore cards because it is based off of a folklore. Okay, so there's definitely a masculine energy here. Okay, very masculine. definitely has something wrong with their memory, or has had energy manipulation sent to their memory, or did something in an altered state, in an altered state of consciousness, which is why there, it might be why I mentioned before, not remembering something traumatic in the moment. You know, you might remember bits and pieces around it, but like the actual, moment of impact, there's something about not remembering that. Okay. There's something about energy manipulation right here. Energy arrival action. Yeah. And something about necromancy, using the dead to being in contact with crossover spirits. You know, you have to be able to discern the spirit, just like Yeshua. And like we said, your energy will determine the type of spirit you're going to attract. You're always going to attract good and bad, but you have to be able to understand which one you're conversing with. And just because it's bad doesn't mean that it has to affect you. You know what I'm saying? You can, if you have spiritual authority, you can command that lower astral entity to give you the information that you need, and then command it to go back to its space, and you can do that with spiritual authority. But if you don't have spiritual authority, if you're not walking with spiritual authority like Yeshua, discerning the spirit, knowing who's in what, knowing who's talking to you, that's why not everyone can do it, because the amount of energy and time it takes, a lot of people are not up to the task to be in the self-control and the discipline that it takes to be a divine conduit for divine energy. Okay, and so this person or these people definitely don't understand that. And so there could be a group, possibly 3 to 4 people, that followed some kind of spell or letter or something. They, I know that this happens. I think you swear. I know that this happens, and this could have happened in this situation. I have known people that were trying to be witches or whatever they were trying to do, or thought they were in communion with, deities, and the deity, and they'll go into meditation, and the deity or whatever they think it is will give them a spell, and they'll write it down, and they'll do it. And there's something about that, like someone crossed over, that gave them an idea, something changed, they did it because they were looking for some kind of change or transition or movement forward. This gives me like Robin Hood vibes, so possibly some kind of abundance. They found or received some kind of ritual or spell or idea or message from the dead, because they were playing with energy, and they were excited about some kind of idea that was given to them by this entity. And we know this happens as well because it's documented by the Queen Elizabeth, who used John Dee as a warlock consultant, and he would constantly, all the time, be going into altered states, talking to interdimensionals that gave him dark spells. And then Aleister Crowley, the same thing. Okay, so this happens. Okay, and the same thing with, Epstein and all these people. They get instructions from the interdimensionals, because the interdimensionals understand energy and how to manipulate it through a human vessel, and they want badly to have these humans get themselves energetically to a place that's harder for them to get out, because then they become part of you know, they can be bound to the interdimensionals, okay, through their low actions. Because the whole goal of the interdimensionals isn't for you to perform the ritual, it's for you to get to a place of guilt and shame that makes you stuck. Because they want, you know, just like God wants to harvest as many good souls as possible to go into the next cycle, so do the interdimensionals. It's like a, I don't want to say it's like a war, or a game, but it's kind of like both at the same time. It's just the way duality works. Okay, it's just the way duality works. People are easily tricked by spirits pretending to be others. They are, because they're non-physical, and so you want to believe that every spirit you talk to has your best interest at heart, but they don't. They have an ulterior motive. Especially when you're not matching divine energy. You can't be a white supremacist and want control and be a white supremacist nationalist that's full of anger and hatred and expect to get messages from divine energy. Okay, that doesn't make sense. So, show me a picture of an interdimensional.
Elizabeth.
Actually, I can show you a picture of an interdimensional. Let me show you. I can show you a picture of my mantis guide. Let me see if I can find it real quick. If I can't find it quickly, I'm going to move on, but I hope I find it. Let me see. Don't want to say I'm a slayer. Don't want to say I'm a slayer. If I can find it quickly, I shall show you. Come on, spirit. I can show you a picture of an interdimensional. I can. Oh, I don't know if I can find it fast enough. I'll have to post it on our Instagram. I mean, TikTok. Okay, let me try one more. Let me try one more thing. I can totally show you an interdimensional. Where's my PixArt? Here. Okay, I'll try one more time. One more time. I make a lot of things. There's so many things. Well, first of all, I'll show you this. So this is my aura picture. You can see my 3 guides. There's 1, 2, 3. The 3 orbs. Okay, there's that one. And then I have a really good one that I've been meaning to post it, honestly. I'm gonna have to post it. I gotta give up this fight. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. I swear I'm gonna do it. I'm sorry, I'm so committed now. Yeah, I can't find it. I have so many things that I make, and it's just a lot to go through. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I digress. I'll show you later. But I do have a picture of an interdimensional. I do. Oh, what the heck? Oh, here it is. Okay. I'm sorry. I digress. Well, that's not cool being assaulted. You have a thought about legal action, or are you just going to let them get away? What? Assaulted and humiliated, actually. Ooh, a throat tickle. Was the attack real? You need therapy. Sorry to hear that, Patriot. Hope you're okay. What did Patriot say? I was recently humiliated and degraded by sorority sisters. Oh, those freaking sororities, man. That's horrible. We just watched a thing about Delta. I was a witch. I was a witch, Spirit said. We just watched a thing about Delta Theta Psi or whatever. It's a sorority house where they practice
Keep the camera on.
They practice rituals. She admitted they practice rituals. I'm not a bitch. I'm coming back, coming hard. What happened to the male? The male's supposed to have love. Dragon Ball. No, not fake offer. So many trolls tonight. That's okay. All right, I'm sorry. I digress. So there's definitely a little bit of necromancy here.
I'm feeling tired.
I know that this is possible because I knew someone who would go into meditative states, receive instructions and spells and rituals, and actually perform them. I absolutely knew that person, and I had to walk away from them because you also become addicted to magic. Using energy manipulation makes you addicted because it makes you have to keep using it to feel good, because when you perform the ritual, the energy is not being created out of thin air. It's taking it from your own field, and pretty soon you do it over and over again because you're like, oh, it works, it's working, oh, we're getting the things we want, it's working, let's do it again, and that's why you start having to recruit people and get more people, and you start having to have bigger sacrifices. It might start first with a candle or some sage, and then you get an intrusive thought, which is the portal you open, the doorway you open to the interdimensionals, and they'll, just like spirit can, it's subtle energy. It's not going to be like boom in your face, here's the idea. You think it's your idea because you can't discern the spirit, but it's really an interdimensional that's intrusively placing a thought within your mind. So you kind of like Inception, but with non-physical energy, it's placing the idea in your mind, and then you're attaching yourself to the idea, and you're like, oh, I got this great idea. It just came to me out of nowhere, And so there's something about that happening here. And the idea was also connected to having great optimism for transition or change, for having some kind of, magical change, something where you would be protected. If you do this, we'll protect you and we'll make sure that you'll get what you're looking for. They trick you. They play on your ego. So if you're a white nationalist, you'll be the best white national. I mean, I don't know what they, but it will play to whatever chip is on your shoulder. Okay, so if this group of people is looking for magic to bring them abundance, and that's, they're practicing magic and they're going into seances and they're playing with the Ouija board, and they have the chip on their shoulder, that's where the entry point is. Okay, for a reward. But in reverse, you can't get a reward when you're like this, when you're a hothead, when you're angry all the time, when you're hurting people out of your anger, when you're emotionally abusive, when you're verbally abusive, physically abusive, you got drinking problems, like you're no gentleman. Okay, you're no gentleman, and it's in reverse. So the action they took was not going to receive a reward. Okay, that's two different energies. If you're magnetic and you're doing all these bad things, doing something bad is not going to get you rewarded. Maybe temporarily it can, but you'll lose it as quick as you got it. Absolute nonsense and gibberish. Then get out of here. I don't understand why you have to say it if you don't like it. I don't understand. I have the rodent under energy arrival, worry, weakness, insecurity. And I have, because I have the fish, abundance, wealth, finance under message. Because when they got the message from the entity said, I know what to do to get you abundance. If you're insecure about your situation and you feel like
Stay.
you want more power and money, I know exactly what you should do. And here's the spell. Here's the ritual. Place people in this position. You know, this is energy manipulation for abundance. They wanted to have abundance, okay? But there's some kind of obstacle or challenge or delay. And this looks like a little girl. Because they weren't careful about something. They weren't careful. The fox, cunning, caution, self-care in reverse. Yeah. They weren't careful because they're talking
My name is
to
Emily.
an interdimensional that's telling them to do something that they're unsure about. Something that a fantasy, yeah. You know, I want to know more about that. I don't know how it works. They were definitely in confusion. I have confusion here and fantasy. There's definitely something about an altered state. Not almost like I don't know how it unfolds in this situation, but what I'm getting is almost like I don't know if you guys have read this book. It's by Dean Koontz. And in this book, what's the book called? I can't remember what the book's called, but in the book, there was a man who would go into these deep transcendental states, and
I'm glad you're here.
he'd be in a transcendental state for like days. And when his astral self would come back to his body, his like mouth is drooling and he's like so dehydrated and stuff, and his body's so weak. But in these times where he's outside of his body, he's visiting like women, and he's abusing them in his astral form. And then there's something about him, like, I'm not saying that this is what this person's doing, but it's like feels like that, and I don't know to what capacity, but he'll like call the victim first and say a word, and that word will, like, whatever he was doing in the astral realm to them subconsciously, when he would call them physically and say a word, realm, yeah, spirit just said realm, and he would say a word, that victim would go into like a transcendental state or an altered state, and they would not remember the interaction. You know, he was like hypnotizing them on the astral realm. Something like that. Ooh, my throat. My throat shakalaka. I believe the majority of the issues people are taught the light as a feather thing is false when it's anything but false. I rank too high on the spiritual realm. I'm a dragon, meaning general. Okay, so I'm sorry, I know that was a lot. But let's go deeper. Spirit, what else? So there's definitely something about whoever... I think that man did it. I do. I think that man did it. I do think that man did it. But what I think is weird is that he doesn't know why he did it. So can you speak to me about that, Spirit? Let's do Trivial Pursuit. Let's do Trivial Pursuit. 3. We'll do 3 pies, 2 blue, 1 brown. Spirit, why didn't he know what he did? Rats. Spirit said rats. I have the rodent. Worry, weakness, insecurity. Something robotic. Something that was unemotional. Something that was cut off from emotion. Something that was done out of weakness, out of worry. rodent. We'll do blue first. What West Coast state accredited Kepler's College postgraduate program in astrological studies? Yep. Washington. I told you. Oh, Washington. And Spirit said elite before. Spirit said elite before. Mm-hmm. Stupid idiots. Stop it. You guys remember when I said, or for those who watch us, LOL, I think you'll remember, but remember when I said that the bloodlines are desperate
Holly.
and they have, so there's like the main families and then there's like the 300 families that are spread out across different avenues of America and the world. So like they're more in like the everyday elite psychic secret space program super soldier. Yeah, except not a super soldier, more like a foot soldier, you know, like they put these people out on the front lines and they gas them up by teaching them, you know,
I'll affect you.
I'll affect you. Yeah. It's because they, like I said, they need more people. They're deficient. They're in deficit of energy. And so it's a psychic warfare. So I was punished. So they need sacrifices that to gain energy. If people are walking away and not wanting to do the rituals anymore because God is making every time they do a ritual themselves, something the karma is so fast now they'll lose something. So that's why they could possibly be recruiting these what do I want to call them? Super severe, you know, racial groups that are already walking in, you know, this energy of anger and stuff, and they'll make them feel like, oh yeah, you're part of the elite. We give you permission, or we give you authority to perform these rituals, and we'll give you money for it, you know, because it's not that. It's because they don't want to do the ritual, because every time they do the ritual in this time we're in, they get a backlash. And so they want other people, they want to trick other people into doing the rituals that they need in order to receive the energy exchange for them to continue to feel good physically, to not be haunted, to not lose everything they have. And so they will go and infiltrate these groups, these extremist groups, because they match the energy needed to perform the rituals. Anna, someone named Anna. That's why they infiltrate religions, Mormonism, and, you know, all of the religions that actually are practicing these dark rituals in the name of God, but they're not of God, but they think they are. Okay, that's because they're attacking an innocent earth angel. Karma comes back within days. Well, especially now in this time. And so in this time, it doesn't matter who they're attacking. If they're performing these rituals, they're going to lose. Every time they do it, they're going to lose something. They're going to lose a loved one. They're going to lose, as I say that, my death was horrible. They're going to die a horrible death. And so we're in a season now of judgment. So when you do these things that are against God, because we're closer to the sun now, and doing actions that are of ancient paganism that were done at a time where we were farther away from the sun, when we were lacking consciousness, when we were lacking the enlightenment and intelligence of the God and heart consciousness and the Christ grid, if you're doing those practices now at this time, you will receive instant backlash. Lake Superior, hello. Psychic meat shields. So there definitely is a connection to the elite using this group as a way to get an energy grab. It's an energy grab, okay? Because they're trying to limit the amount of rituals they do. Planned. Spirit just said planned. All right, blue, one more or two more. What nation was singer-songwriter Trin Kong's son considered to be the Bob Dylan of? Vietnam. Trin Kong's son considered to be the Bob Dylan of Vietnam. What nation singer-songwriter? Perhaps someone named Bob or Dylan. And maybe even someone who's Asian, or wanting to target someone who's Asian, or I don't know. So I'm not sure what you're trying to tell me with that. A nation? Someone who's a singer? Someone with the last name Singer? Not sure. A son? S-O-N? I'm not sure what you're trying to tell me with that. Eric? Oh, Eric. Isn't there Eric the Great or something? There could be somebody in this group and this says nation, so nationalists.
Take care of yourself.
There could be a group, or it could be a group of nationalists that consider someone who's a son in this group considers themselves to be the son of Eric the Red or something. They claim to be that, to be the embodiment of that. I don't know if there's someone in the area that talks about doing that, but that's definitely coming up right now.
Josephine.
Ooh, light flicker. I'm defeating Freemasons, Eastern Stars, witches, churches. Good for you. Hey, Drake. Thanks for being here. Are card readers like the ones that predict someone's future with the deck of cards a form of demonic practice? That's a good question. It's not a form of demonic practice, but what it does is it creates an opening for interdimensionals to infiltrate your mind, because you're seeking outside of yourself answers for a future that hasn't happened yet. And what Spirit says to us is that the reason why the Bible says it's blasphemous but doesn't give the other information is because they don't want you to talk to Spirit at all, good or bad. But the reason why God says they don't want you to view future timelines is because you might view a timeline that when you go get a card reading to know what's going to happen, you don't know where that person's at that's reading it. You don't know if they're ordained by God to read the cards. You don't know what their intentions are, and you don't know if they're lying. And because it's a future event. And also, there are so many strings and timelines that could happen that you might not be a match for yet. And so if you have a reader, or if you read it yourself, if you read a future timeline, first of all, you might be making it up if you're not ordained, if you're not a messenger. And if you might read a timeline that is a possibility, but you're not an energetic match for. And so what you'll do is you're searching for a good timeline, right? That's when you want the best timeline to know what your future is going to be. Or even if you hear a bad timeline, that's bad too. What the mind will do is fixate on the end result of whatever you were told, whether it's good or bad, and it will alter the decisions you make to heal or to move forward, and it will prevent you from from doing what needs to be done now in this moment to find happiness or to be happy now. And you will say to yourself, oh, well, she told me that on this timeline I'm going to receive money, and so I'm going to do nothing. I'm just going to wait for that to come. And meanwhile, you're letting all these things happen and pass by, and you're lacking action and you're lacking healing because you think in your mind that you're going to receive something as an outcome. But you're not doing the work in order to match yourself magnetically or energetically with that timeline. And so you might receive something, but you weren't an energetic match to it, so you'll lose it as soon as you receive it. Does that make sense? So Spirit always says, don't concern yourself with future timelines. Work on being an energetic match to align with the highest timeline that is already done. It's all possibilities have already been done, because there's no such thing as time. Everything happens here and now. And so if you can match yourself energetically by finding joy, by living in your heart, by being kind, by matching divine energy, you will match the most abundant timeline, and then whatever's meant for you, will be attracted to you based on your energy signature.
I'm losing energy.
So I hope that makes sense. That's the point of AI. It's guiding through algorithmic influence. It could be necromancy. Absolutely, that too. Yeah, you could, if you try to search a future timeline, you could get information that's false from interdimensionals that are taking advantage of your naivety, for you thinking that any interdimensional that comes to you has your best interest at heart. 333 in the chat. So
please trust us.
Please trust us, Spirit says. Spirit says, please trust us. We're trying to teach you about energy. Okay, who's the me in the book Elvis and Me? Priscilla Presley.
Spanish donkey.
Priscilla Presley. So there's something about, Priscilla Presley was 14 when she met Elvis. Okay, so there's something here about a lie about needing, a young woman, some kind of lie about a young woman needing that for to create some kind of action. That was the lie that was told to this group, because like I said, the elites are going out and they're trying to recruit these kind of extremist groups in order to carry out their energy grabs, their energy exchanges. Because if the least amount of times they can do it, the least amount of times it will come back to them. But honestly, that's not true. I know they think that's true, but that's not true, because just because you're tricking the human into doing your dirty work for you through energy manipulation doesn't mean that God doesn't see what you're doing. It's so weird that they put so much time and effort into doing these energy grabs, but they're so linear and masculine in their perception of it. It's like God is omnipresent. God created energy manipulation. That was the apple in the Garden of Eden that was eaten by Eve. Energy manipulation, being able to lie, to cheat, to steal, to trick people into getting what you want. One girl was lured to site to meet a fake social media boy, but other girl went too.
We exorcise you.
Why am I seeing 666 everywhere for a year now? Might change back 666, everywhere. Should I be worried? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. 666 is actually a number of transformation. Symbology of 666. Ultimate perfection. It says it's the mark of the beast, but that's just hogwash. Everything has a good and bad to it. Everything. It could be telling you that there's something you need to look at. There may be some kind of completion that hasn't been able to clear because you're not seeing something. It could represent your fear of failure. It could represent your need for perfection. Are you saying that Eve didn't sin? She was controlled and fooled by Adam? I'm saying that the sin that was taught to her,
They left me.
the sin that was taught to her was to manipulation. I'm saying I don't know if this is a true story, but metaphorically, the apple she ate was the knowledge of how to do weapons and how to manipulate energy through witchcraft and how to do certain things that God said you don't have to do in order to control the outcome. You don't have to do these things. They had everything they wanted and everything they needed. And the minute an outside source, which was an interdimensional, came along and they were naively, believed what the outside influence told them, that they could do whatever they wanted. Do as thou wilt. It's the same principle today. Do as thou wilt. And so, yeah, you can eat this apple, and I'll also teach you how to lie, cheat, steal, and to get what you want quicker. And that's the apple that was in. That's the beast that still to this day plagues us. Not plagues us, but it's all part of the cycle. But because people are...
Concentrate.
Okay, I'm sorry. Spirit said to concentrate. I'm sorry. So Adam is the bad guy, or what if the snake? There's no bad guy. There's no bad guy. It's like if you were a poor child, or if you were a child and all you knew was goodness, and it kind of reminds me of you remember in Pinocchio, or even Alice in Wonderland, when you are naive and you don't know any better, and an interdimensional comes along and tells you all the things you want to hear and tells you how cool something would be and how much fun it would be, and yeah, you can totally do this, and it's gonna, they trick you. Okay, they trick you, and they'll that's why Spirit says knowledge is power. To know a little bit of everything, to always be seeking out knowledge is divine. Aristotle says to seek knowledge is divine, because the more you understand about energy, the more you understand about the spiritual laws and how it applies to us in our physicality, the less you can be manipulated by interdimensionals that thrive on tricking you into believing that they care about your well-being. That's how they trick you. They play on your human compassion and naivety of spiritual concepts to make you do energy manipulation, to make you make a weapon, to have you form a weapon against a person, to have you form a weapon against yourself. These are the things that create an emotional attachment and bind you to them. It's emotional. It's all emotional. We're not born a sinner. We're born in a world of sin and adopted their sinful ways. Absolutely. Yes. Yes. And sin is such a religious, has a lot of religious implications to it, but it's basically it's basically not matching divine energy, which is your natural state. That's why they say you're born without sin.
Shush.
It just means you're born without human, you're born perfect. You're born with a clear field. And as you get older, you start getting introduced to traumas and emotions, and you start being hurt, and you start operating out of that unclear field where you're not perceiving everything from a clear field. You're perceiving it from your traumas. And so that's why they say hurt people hurt people. It's because of the amount of dirt you have on your field doesn't allow you to broken Spirit said broken. It doesn't allow you to match divine energy or to operate in divine energy, because you're not perceiving. I don't know how to explain this. I don't know how to explain it. This is going to sound weird, but about a year ago, I seen water drop come from thin air, but it did not leave a watermark. This is the only thing I've ever seen that was like this. They're not wanting this topic explored, throwing trolls to distract us. They're way off in the weeds. Yeah, it's tough because I'm getting a lot of good questions, but yeah, you're right. What is the receptor machine called that you're using? Oh, thank you so much. It's the necrometer. Okay, so this is definitely has some elite, I don't want to call them elites, but this definitely has, I don't know what to call them. People from the bloodlines that are definitely manipulate. Oh, my vision's getting blurry.
I wasn't a believer.
My vision's getting blurry right now. So a message about targeting 14-year-old girls, just like Elvis and me. Priscilla Presley was 14 when Elvis met her.
Your face.
My face. So there's something about Robin Williams, Tom Hanks, Hollywood, World War leaders,
Bench.
Democratic presidential primaries. Low energy. Yeah, right here. Controversial, low energy, chemically assisted. Yeah, they were trying to successfully defend their title because they have no energy. And so they were causing chemically assisted nuclear reactions in in secondary primaries to receive gross World War typewriter tests, to receive messages, to basically do something very specific. This reminds me of Project Moonbeam. They'll program a laser with a certain amount of information or non-physical electrical data, and we're electrical, and so they'll beam it at somebody who's in this group, and they don't care who does it, but whoever matches the energy that they're inputting into the beam, into the laser, into the message, then they'll beam it at that group, and whoever matches it is going to be the one that puts out, or who does the act. And they do this with school shooters, they do this with assassinations, they do this with lots of people, anyone who matches the energy. And that's why it'll be so senseless when it happens. It just doesn't make any sense, because it's not something that that person particularly like planned or like wanted to do, but it's the group controlling the Project Moonbeam. And if you guys, we put it on our TikTok. If you're not familiar with Project Moonbeam, Project Moonbeam, I'll just quickly tell you about it.
The shadows.
I'm in the shadows. Yeah, it's a way for them to project their agenda through safety. They think that by having someone else do it, that it will protect them from receiving karma or any consequences energetically by letting other people do it. And they don't care, they don't care who does it. They don't care as long as it fits a specific criteria. We need 2 14-year-old girls, teenage girls. That's how energy manipulation works. And that thought will be beamed into the mind and the person who matches that criteria or that energy the most will be the one who initiates the action. Okay. A research initiative developing a photonic extension cord. Photonic is what we are. We are photonic beings. And so that's why it works on us energetically. Oh, thank you so much for being here. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. They call it stochastic terrorism, and they say it's emergent by design. Yes, it affects you cognitively. It affects your thoughts. You think that you're thinking the thought. It sends an intrusive thought to you, and you think that that's what you want to do. And if that person is asleep and they aren't able to discern the thought or discern the spirit, then they will act upon the thought and they will not even know why they did it, because there's not actually a reason for them to do it. They weren't like planning it. They really just were sent this laser beam of information that put the intrusive thought in their head. Okay. And this can happen to anybody. And I know 100% for a fact that this is real. I do, because I know someone who's in the military who admitted that they have this.
Right now.
I know it. I know for sure. Okay. So the reason why they wanted children, this organization wanted children, because the children is like a lotus flower, and it helps them receive energy. It helps them receive energy in a cyberspace, in a non-physical space, because they want to continue to become the oldest champ. It's because they want to continue to perpetuate their agenda. Okay. They want to continue to be in control. And unfortunately for them, we're just coming to a place in the cycle where they have to go back to sleep. These are the titans that they speak about in mythology. The energies that we're talking about are the titans. And as we get closer to the sun, they're going to be more desperate and trying to control the outcome, while also projecting onto the collective this energy weapon that can do their bidding. Basically, it does their bidding. Okay. It's like they're energy surfers. Yeah, it's like this beam surfs non-physical. It's because what you guys don't see, and maybe other psychics can attest to this, but when I meditate, or when I do grid work, or when I go into a altered state, when I'm clearing my field, or when I'm exercising, or even now when I do readings, there's a grid, and it's a non-physical grid, and it kind of looks like Tron, and these entities know about it. And in this field is all information, and all of our thoughts, and all of our outcomes, it's like an information field. And what they are trying to do is they're trying to surf that field by inputting a specific outcome that they want, and they don't care who it hits, but they'll target the extremist groups that they have on the physical plane recruited, and they say to them, I come from the Rothschild family, and I really commend what you're doing here, and I want to present you with a gift and offer you an invitation to join our forces, and we'll teach you forbidden knowledge, and you can use this knowledge to gain abundance. But that's the trick. And so that opens up permission to use them through the Project Moonbeam. That's the permission that they give. And so they don't know that though. And so they'll be infiltrated. They'll be like, oh, we got another one. And then when they need an energy grab, because they don't want to do it themselves, because every time they do it, it's going to be bad for them. Okay? That's kind of like this message in a nutshell. And so the reason they target children is because the less trauma on the field, the less dirty the field, the more clear the field is, the higher the energy exchanges. If you get an adult, they'll really take anything they can get, but children are the biggest grab. That's why they do the school shootings and stuff, because it's an energy grab, because children are the highest output of energy exchange because of how innocent they are. The more trauma you have on your field of unprocessed emotions, you can absolutely be an adult with a clear field. You can clear your field. We made a TikTok about that if you want to watch it.
Damage.
But the more dirty your field is, the less viable, or the more, they don't want you as much. That's why they target children, because they have a higher input of divine energy. And that's what fuels, you might as well, it's like when we eat food, they say more protein is better to get like energy and stuff, instead of, you don't want to eat a meal that's all carbs, because then you're just going to be really tired afterwards, because it takes more time to process all those carbs than it takes to process veggies and protein, so it's like the same concept. I don't mean to reduce it to such simplicity, but that's kind of like the idea of it. And so they'll target, that's why they target children. Okay. Yes. So can you tell me, girls, about, it's really just, honestly, it's just a really senseless, mindless,
Your presence is a gift.
the right place at the right time type of situation, I know that it's hard to wrap your mind around, there's not even like any other reason. No, it's just completely energy. It's just an energy grab. And so this person that did the act, can you tell me more about them? Tell me about this man. You're a dolphin. Slap your little fins together and try to find your target with echolocation. I cannot make it up. With echolocation. He was just a match. He doesn't know why he did it. There's no reason for him to do it. He just did it because he was following the program that was sent to him. Okay? Tell me more about this person. Why are they a match to it? You're a dry waffle. Plead with your target to cover you in syrup. Because they match the energy. They have,
Did you hear me?
when you have a chip on your shoulder, when you're dry, when you're dried up energetically, when you have spirits of envy, when you're unhappy, when you're searching outside of yourself for things to give you validation or satisfaction, this person may have been targeted because they have certain, I kind of want to say like fetishes. There's like things that they cover and think about a lot. They might not, I don't know if he acts on them, but he definitely thinks about a lot of distorted things a lot that he would like to do. I don't know if he does them. I don't know. But he's a dry waffle. He's hungry. He's searching for something to satiate, to hydrate him, to moisturize him. I'm speaking metaphorically. He's dried up and not fulfilled. And so that makes him a match to this energy. He did the ritual arrangement stuff alone. I don't know. Let's see. I do see up to 4 people here. So I'm not sure. Let's see. You're a cat. Try to get the target to pet you by meowing profusely. If they pet you, hiss at them. Yeah, definitely manipulated by magic. You could have an anger problem. Anger could be anger and like fury and rage is definitely an entry point for intrusive thoughts for Project Moonbeam. You're a sushi chef berating the target for using a fork in a restaurant. Yeah. He could potentially, be very verbally abusive, have a lot of, anger issues. Did he work alone or were there other people?
Mr. Wilson.
Let me see. Did he work alone or were there other people? I do see 3 people here, but I don't know if that means like entity-wise. He could have been possessed for a short time, where he may have had supernatural abilities, and that could be why he doesn't know why he did it. He could have allowed an entity to enter his vessel. I'm not sure. I do have you're a cat trying to get the target to pet you by meowing profusely. Oh, look at this. I don't think he did do it alone. Let's all get along. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 people. I don't think he did do it alone. This was definitely done with other people. Tell me more about that. Yeah, because look, this girl's got like a package under her hand, so she could have had supplies. She could have had supplies where they were in the, it's...
No, not here.
No, not here, yeah. I was just going to say, how it works is when you're doing these rituals and stuff,
Mr. Brown,
and you want to perform a ritual, the entity is going to tell you how to perform the ritual. And whoever is the person that claims to have the connection to the entity, whether they think they're Eric the Red or if they think they're the reincarnation of Cleopatra, like whatever the entity is telling them, that's the person who's going to be given what supplies they'll need, and how many, whatever it is they need, they're going to be told what they need by the entity. And so there's something about them knowing, Spirit said no, not here. So this is how it works. You get this idea from the entity, and the entity gives you a list of things you need, a list of words to say, whether it's chanting or whatever. And basically what the entity is trying to do is to get a group of people into a hive mind with an intention to produce energy and to do something that all of them will be bound to through guilt and shame. That's the ultimate goal. And so they'll give you the directions. They'll say, go into the woods. I'll tell you when to stop. Which is funny because look right here, and I'll tell you when to stop. I'll tell you what time to go there. Don't ask me any more questions. Trust me. The right people are gonna come along at the right time. See this girl watching another girl, because that's how it works. The interdimensionals can see timelines, and they know when 2 people are going to be there at this time at 2:47 p.m. in this area, and then you know, and then we'll bring the supplies, and then you'll know, we'll nudge you, and then you'll know what to do. And we'll tell you, destruction, yes. Okay, so that's how it works. I knew it. I felt strongly about him being targeted and manipulated by a small group who then stitched up case by leaving evidence. Oh, yeah. And we also have to remember that we don't know if the police are involved. You know, these small groups often have teachers, bankers, the person you work with, you know, your boss, the nurse, the doctor. These families want to infect or infest small towns, because the small towns that are boring, that are low income, these are the things they want to target, because they can recruit those people to do something for money, or to justify doing something for money or for abundance. They also want to target people in high places, psychologists, doctors, therapists, things like that, because if they can, it's just about tricking people. Honestly, it's just about manipulation. Yes, absolutely. Okay, so they definitely was a group of people that was. There's 5 of us. There's 5 of us. Spirit just said there's 5 of us. Okay, so this was a group effort. It was planned to a degree. I think. I don't think they knew exactly what was going to unfold, but they knew like the end result, you know, but I just don't think they knew like how it's going to unfold. Okay. Yeah, because these are a bunch of people that are operating in their survival mind, their animal mind, easily manipulated. And I also have emotions, fantasy, confusion, doubt, and secrets. And a lot of these things have their eyes closed. So there's definitely, I have a cow with their eyes closed and the heart with the eyes closed. So there's definitely something about possibly using animals before this point, you know, doing it to animals. And then the entity says, well, if you want the biggest outcome, then, you know, 2 14-year-old girls would be really, you know, the highest energy you could get. You know what I'm saying? So basically the government. Yeah. And then sworn to secrecy, because the entity will say, well, if you say anything about how you got to this, then they say your family will die, or your friends are going to die, or something big, they scare you into secrecy. So they say something about how you can't tell what we do here or what we did, because if you do, it could also be, like the deltas. Oh, that could be why that came up. Insight. Thank you so much, Spirit. So there's something about them putting forgetful spells on people. And it's so you can have plausible deniability when you get questioned about it, or if you have to do a lie detector test, because they put forgetful spells on them after they do certain spells, especially when they're like dark like this. So you can't speak about it, because the minute you speak about it, and the reason why you did it and your involvement in it, is the minute that the spell breaks. The spell is broken when you bring awareness to how it was done, why it was done, and who was involved. The spell breaks. And so they do forgetful spells, just like the deltas do forgetful spells on themselves when they do the biggest spells in the basement. And there's you can watch that interview. I'll try to find it for you guys and put it in the comments if I can remember. But they do forgetful spells, so that way, when you're being questioned, or if for whatever reason, if you're ever questioned, you can legitimately be like, I don't know why I did it. I did it. I know I did it, but I don't know why I did it. And that's what he said. That's exactly what he said. Okay. Let me get one more. It's such a shame, honestly. It's such a shame. I know it's not, that's horrible to say. Oh, are you saying that it's just, they're just in the wrong place at the wrong time? Yeah. Tell me about that. Yeah. Just these elites, man. These freaking families. Oh, my eye is so itchy. These freaking families are just, they're starving. They're starving and they're addicted. They'll do anything. When you do this type of manipulation, you have to keep doing it because they have no vital force. They're in deficit. They're in deficit. So this is how they look. This is how they become when they did this to Britney Spears. I'm definitely gonna find somebody who's crossed over that's close to Britney Spears so we could get the scoop about her, because I'm worried about her. I'm worried about her. Okay, this is also the energy of the group that they target. They need immature, emotionally immature, stunted humans who are, in lack mentality, who are craving attention, who have addictions, who have superiority complexes, who are thirsty, who are hungry. Those are the people they target. That's why we say you need to heal so you become like a marble. So when you're magnetic, and when you're operating in this type of energy, you will be susceptible. You will be susceptible to their Project Moonbeam and their energy manipulation. You'll be targeted in that way. Not you specifically, but the energy that you're sitting in. Girls, what can we tell your loved ones? What would you like to tell your loved ones at this time? I lovingly accept. The girls have accepted their fate. They're hoping it changes people's perception. This isn't even supposed to be in here. They're hoping it changes people's perceptions about witchcraft, about how it works, about energy manipulation. Heretic's Fork. They're hoping that you have to remember that certain souls come here for a very specific mission. And these two girls, their mission, they're on a soul level. They knew exactly when they were going to go, how they were going to go, and why they were going to go. And so to us, we're not privy to that information because we don't accept non-physical, spiritual missions as reality, but they are. And so they came here with the mission to be projected on in this way, so that way when we read it, we can know exactly what happened, why that happened, and how we can stop it and how we can prevent it. And so they lovingly accept what has happened to them, and they ask you to understand that they came here specifically for this mission, and their mission has been fulfilled. They need us to understand what energy manipulation consists of inside. They already knew that they were going to die in this way, and they knew that, so we could alter our perception of how reality actually works, so we can stop being susceptible to this energy manipulation. Okay, please tell us more. Companionship. They did it together. They are together. They did it together, and they made this mission together, and they knew that having two would be a greater impact than one, and that's because it makes us more upset. that it's so senseless and not necessary. And so then it pushes us to ask the question and to want answers. And then once we find out the answers, now we're going to push more. Well, how long is this going to happen? How do we prevent it from happening? How can we create a barrier to protect ourselves from this? This is what is happening right now. So they want it. What else do you want us to know? Healing myself heals my lineage. Yeah. They did this to heal a lifetime of generational curses that have, where we've lived in the cycle of energy manipulation. Going into the next cycle, energy manipulation will not be a thing for a long, for until, I mean, I'm not sure exactly until when, but a golden age is like a long time. And we're in a golden age. We're at the very beginning of a golden age where we have to kind of like seed out all this old mind stuff. But this is part of the process. And I know that when we lose somebody, it's very hard and there's a grieving process. But on a higher perspective, this was already destined to end in this way. And it was for a greater purpose. Okay, so they understand that. They understand that, and they're happy that they I saw worth twice. Yeah. See, I have worth twice, one upside down and one right side up. It's the balance. I am a light in the world. It's the balance. A bad thing had to happen for us to understand why it's happening. Mission accomplished. Yes. Sometimes you have to have a bad thing happen for us to open our eyes to not want that thing to happen. It comes back to duality. If bad things never happened, we would never know what we want and what we don't want. Even if it's bad, even if it's out of malevolence, we have to understand the things that make us feel icky and sad and grief in order to create and imagine what we want. If we don't want that, well, what else do we want? If we don't like this happening, then how can we change it? We change it through our thoughts, okay? We change it by imagining a better way of being, a world without energy manipulation, a world without the elites, you know? Outrageous openness. Dear loved ones, open me to your will. Release me from my attachments. Surprise and delight me with your plan. You know what's needed, and I'm open to receive. Yes. There's no such thing as death. And we have to get over, I'm not saying that it's okay the way these girls died and that they died. I'm not saying that. But as a medium, what I can understand is that when someone crosses over, even though as a human we think very linearly, every soul has a mission and has a purpose and knows when they're going to leave, and if they're going to leave early, that could potentially be predestined, planned. Not all the time. Some people leave before they're supposed to, and that's sad, and I understand that. And I am not saying that this loss isn't sad, but they fulfilled their mission, and we have to understand that this was for a reason. And it's going to be worth the loss, and they can come back, and you can absolutely talk to them at any time, and they're here, and they're never going away, because there's no such thing as death. My sister hurt my mother, and she too, Ham. Okay. So the girls are asking you to have outrageous openness for this concept, because if we can detach ourselves from being so caught up in senseless loss, it's not actually senseless. It might be senseless to us because we're not privy to a higher perspective, but if we could allow ourselves to be open enough to understand that souls do have higher missions that aren't seen to us, and they can be fulfilled even if the outcome looks to us to be, very negative. Overall, the mission was accomplished, okay? Visionary draft. Yeah, seeing things from a higher perspective. I make way for miracles. You have to have something, bad and good at the same time. Rise above earthly matters, glide through life with grace. You are able to see the right path, stand tall in your self-worth, and love with a big heart. He did, didn't he?
Mommy.
No.
Why?
Because you're obsessed and addicted and it's not good for my body.
I watched it. Mama! I watched it Netflix and I was so bored and I was trying to watch the Meg movies, but I couldn't.
Okay, let me say goodbye and I'll help you, okay? Okay. Okay, guys, I gotta go. I love you so much. Thank you so much to the girls for sharing your mission with us. Thank you so much to Spirit for giving us a higher perspective. I hope that it helps you guys understand exactly how this reality works and how we can keep ourselves clear as a marble so we're not energetically matching these, what's the word I want to use? Agendas, these elite agendas, okay? I love you so much. I'm going to figure out how to do the Britney Spears. I'm going to figure out that person who passed away that's close to them. And we'll figure out Britney Spears together, okay? Oh, thank you for being here. I love you guys so much. Have a great Sunday. See you later. Bye.